Hey, so if you click on the video, you're probably curious as to what is happening. This is a project for school, and the intended purpose of this project was to capture the cultural experience as an American citizen. And I asked them a few questions about what it means to be ethnic in America, and a little bit about their culture and how they experience life as a first and second gen American citizen. I also conducted other forms of interviews via Google Forms, and some of the responses were interesting. The participants felt like they had an unequal chance at life just because of their ethnicity or sexuality. So, furthermore, I wanted to bring up some of the statistics before I get into the videos, as I had 12 participants fill out an online form, and out of the 12, um, 11 of them are of Hispanic origin. 10 individuals felt like they were unequal or disadvantaged at life solely because of their ethnicity, sexuality, gender, and or skin color. Furthermore, 40% of my participants were part of the LGBTQ community. 46% were the first in their family to go to college or to receive a academic merit or scholar. 13% were affected by ICE. 40% have experienced discrimination based on their gender, sexuality, ethnicity, or race. 66% agree that movements such as Black Lives Matter and the Brown Berets and Black Panther is necessary to incite change. Out of all my participants, 73% are Gen 1, 13% are immigrants, and 13% are Gen 2. And that's pretty much it for the general stats. And we can go ahead and get into the videos. The first one, it's gonna have some cuts. The video was about an hour of raw footage, and I've cut it down to 27 minutes. Don't worry, you haven't really missed anything. In the link below, I will post all of the questions that I asked my participants, and you can be able to look and see for yourself what they're responding to. But I hope you enjoy and know that this was just a little small social experiment to see exactly what the people here in Southern California kind of think in my age range of 18 to 24. So I hope you enjoy the video, and yeah.
Hi, my name is Jose Valencia. I am 21 years old of age. I am Hispanic, and I am a Cal Poly Pomona student. I do feel that especially from my mom's side, it's very traditional. Um, just like things like uh, how you would treat your significant other when family's around, or of course the foods that we'll eat, or the emphasis on religion. I am Catholic, so that religion is really enforced in our family. It's really me opening up to the real world. So as soon as I hit college, I started questioning a lot of things, and since my family was reinforcing all these strong ideals, I started to, in a way, back from it. I started to question a lot more. I started not to believe in, so on and so forth, until I realized and I slowly accustomed to my culture as well as the normal ideal American culture. So yeah, it has influenced me throughout my childhood up to when I got into college. It got shady in college, and then I'm back into it. Yeah. As a minority, well, not in California, but in most of the United States, there is this stigma on Hispanics being the invaders, taking everyone's jobs, so on and so forth. Especially with the whole election happening, and there's all this emphasis on immigration. It was, in a way, kind of shady, not shady, but very uncomfortable for us. Um, yeah, it just if politics is all its own beast. But yeah, for being Hispanic during this time, especially during Trump administration, it was uncomfortable. It made me uncomfortable because there's this stigma of, oh, we shouldn't be here, because I come from a family in which my parents were born in Mexico, and with these ideals of, oh, you guys should stay in your home. The this country is um, it didn't, it wasn't welcoming to be a Hispanic during that time.
Yeah.
I can't really phrase it into words, but yeah, it wasn't welcoming because the whole build the wall scenario, or the, well, yeah, I mean, with the elections ending, um, all of us are crazed about it. All of us are excited on how that turned out. But I do feel that there's still ideals that would still inhabit the whole stigma of Hispanics, and that still exists. That's not going to go away. I mean, people are who they are at the end
Yeah.
of the day. So that part, right? So everything is going to be everything's going to take time. You know,
Okay.
with the emphasis on Hispanics during the last election, it is on the peak, and now it's going downhill because of the results of Biden becoming president.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, with time, people are going to be not trash talking Hispanics, I guess you could say. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Hope, right?
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't consider. I'm gonna use a derogatory term, but I don't consider myself a white skin. But growing up, I wasn't very fluent in Spanish, so people would call me that. So like, oh, you don't know Spanish, you're not a true Hispanic, so on and so forth. My mom, when she came in, she learned English really fast. Right now, she is a RNA at a hospital, so she's always using English. So I was raised in English, and my dad uh, came here when he was 3 years old. So he grew
Oh,
up and he was educated in
yeah.
the American school system. So
Okay.
traditionally, we just spoke English. The rest of my family doesn't. I can tell you, all my aunts and uncles, they all speak predominantly Spanish, and it wasn't until my teen years that I was able to actually communicate with them properly.
Yeah.
So it was cool discovering my aunts and uncles at 15. It was cool.
No, no,
Uh,
I understand
but
that.
yeah, no, the language barriers was definitely a thing. When it comes to other traditions, I mean, of course, there's things that get dropped. Like we don't really celebrate the Day of the Dead. That's not a typical thing. I am very insecure at the fact that I am not as fluent in Spanish as my fellow cousins. Like it is a thing that I'm like, oh man, I don't, do I really represent Hispanic culture? Because that is what I'm born in. That's who I am. So do I represent my family? Am I doing my job as a Hispanic man? But and there's also hindrances like since we live in California, uh, Spanish is something that the majority, I would say, if not the majority, close to majority speak. So when it comes to jobs, speaking Spanish, it's a reoccurring theme in which I know I need to continue my education on. When it came down to my mom, she came to the States when she was 18. She came here legally with a passport, and then she got her residency, and then she became a citizen. As for my dad, he came here illegally as a 3-year-old baby, and he didn't get his citizenship until 2 years ago. So it was a very long road for him. Um, when it comes to uh, like troubles and all that, I mean, there was a instance in which my dad could have been deported because of some things that he got into, but he didn't. So grateful. I hope, thankfully, he is still here with us and was able to get his citizenship um, 2 years ago. So yeah, there were issues with that, especially, and I think that goes into why my family feels so strongly or feels so uncomfortable with the whole media and the whole border talk. It was
Mhm.
because, I mean, that was a real threat, and there's some of my family members maybe still going through that.
It's,
So it's a real thing, you know.
no, I understand that. And it can be really painful, right? It tears families apart here.
Yeah,
So it's a whole nother issue. It's, if do you want
immigration here, or are you comfortable with that? And many people say yes, many people say no, but you don't really see the impacts of what that institutionalized racism is actually creating, tearing apart families in America.
I relate a lot to my mom. My mom is pretty much my role model when it comes to life. Um, when it comes to this, when it comes to traditional culture, I do believe that that's where me and my mom become very separated on. When it comes to, I'm not gonna say my mom's racist. She is not racist. She's a very loving person. But in a sense, like my mom does share some ignorance. The only culture that she knows is Hispanic culture. And when another culture is present to her, she's like, "Oh, that is foreign. What is that?" And us being American or Americanized makes us more well equipped to be able to adapt to these separate cultures.
Yeah.
So I would say the fact that I am Americanized made me less ignorant. I know that might be something that is a hot take, but that's literally how I see that. Because my mom, she's very loving, she's very compassionate,
Mhm.
but I do feel that in a sense she's not very welcoming to other ideas that are not her own. Yeah, I mean totally. I mean there was there so the my sibling, my sister, she was bi, well she was lesbian. I honestly don't know how to classify what she
She
is.
came out as
So
she
I'm not going to. I'm
came
not going
out as
to.
lesbian, and then she said that she was bisexual, but she
Right,
had a girlfriend that was trans.
right.
Okay.
So when she first came out to me, I cried because in my mind, I thought to myself, man, my sister's going to hell.
Mhm.
That was a real thing. I was scared for my sister because of the ideas that I grew up in,
Yeah.
and I don't believe in that aspect. I don't believe that sexuality determines your uh, it, sexuality is a passport to heaven and a lifestyle. Um, and my parents did struggle with that. I seen my mom cry. I seen my sister cry over the same situation, and both of them felt very deeply about it. It was a struggle. It really was, man. And there was some dissonance in me. I was trying to figure out, man, my sister's kind of a role model. My mom is kind of a role model. Whose side am I on? Whose side? It was this weird split in the family. But with time, my mom became more accepting with the culture, and I'm not gonna say she's 100% there, but she is more accepting because she had to accommodate my sister because she loves my sister. I do know when it comes to Hispanic values, the food is typically made from the woman, and as I watch my sister become starting a family of her own and learning not her role but assimilating into a role of being a wife, I do see that there is an emphasis on being someone that could cook, being someone that could clean. And there's this ongoing joke that my mom would say is like, "Mija, you could cook, you get married now."
Yeah.
Like that's a joke in the family, and in a sense that is concerning because I'm like, oh, does my sister think that being able to cook equals the capability of being a wife? Is that something that she holds close to her heart? And there's times where I'll just look at her, then like I look at her cooking, then she'll look at my mom to see if she's watching, and she'll go back to cooking. I'm like, man, she really cares about cooking. So like little things like that, really embodies what a typical Hispanic woman would feel when they'll be becoming of age.
Hmm.
So in a sense, it does bring people together. It brings their culture together because that's how the culture is set up. Um, but as for just bringing people together in general, I mean,
So you kind of just mentioned that cooking for women is like a coming of age kind of thing. Like it's
yeah,
like honorary kind of thing that you get to celebrate. Like, and actually, it's more like you're passing down information from your ancestors, and you're gonna ensure that the soul of your mother's cooking will, continue through your cooking into your kids, right? That's
right,
kind of the whole purpose of passing it down to your children, right?
yeah, Hispanic is amazing. I never had an issue with being Hispanic. I wouldn't choose to be anything else. Um, I feel like my people are very strong, very determined as a group, and being Hispanic really taught. Well, my parents really taught me how it is to really earn what you get. and to teach me the ideals of what I should do as a man, and that's to just work hard, do what you got to do, and provide. I'm very proud of those aspects. I'm very proud of my family, my culture, and yeah, totally love who you are. You know, uh, there's people that struggle to really see themselves or see their culture as a part of them. uh, your background has weight. Your background has meaning, and there's a lot of traditions and there's a lot of knowledge behind your ancestry. Um, really embrace that. Really learn off of that. Uh,
There's some different things than you would say like American traditions, but because my family is like very whitewashed because both my parents grew up here, it's just little things. So don't point at things with your feet. Keep your shoes at the front of the house, or their shoes like lined up at the stairs. There's a lot of like Buddha statues around my house and stuff.
Okay.
Other than that, like everything's very Americanized. My mom, she's white. She's Catholic. My dad, he is Asian. He's Christian. My Asian grandma and grandparents are Catholic, and then my Asian grandpa is Buddhist. No, I've personally never faced anything with like discrimination. I'm also very like white passing to a lot of people,
Mhm.
so I've been lucky enough to never be told anything like that. Yeah, at this point, it's just very Americanized at this point. I do kind of wish that I knew a little bit more about the culture, a little bit more about traditions and stuff, because I honestly have no idea what any of it is about. Um, Both my parents are very whitewashed, so that just passed down to me. I know minor things from my grandparents, but that's pretty much of all I've ever known. I know like maybe like 10 words, but I wish I knew the full language. That would be pretty cool.
Okay, that's cool though. Are there any like differences that you've noticed spending time with your grandparents versus your parents?
Grandparents,
Different? Like, are they more like, strict or?
I've been lucky enough to where they've mellowed down throughout the years. Raising my dad, they were very strict and uptight and traditional. Over the years, they've loosened up. Um, I obviously need to be a little bit more polite around them, but it's pretty similar, I would say, with my grandparents versus my parents. I don't have to tense up too much around either of them. Take your shoes off around those other family members. Um, and obviously, like another like stereotype you could say, but good grades, it's very important that I have that, because if I don't, they kind of lose all trust in me. um my dad, yeah, I mean, he got in some fights when he was younger because people would insult him for being Asian. um Little backhanded comments, kind of like how I get them now.
Mhm.
um my mom, I mean, almost pretty much every female gets some sort of wave of sexism. That's just kind of how it is, but nothing over the top. Just kind of the normal. Yeah. I feel like everyone should just have equal rights to men. So yeah, I do.
Okay. Um, do you think that your parents would also be considered feminists, or your grandparents?
Um, they believe in men are equal or women are equal to men, but they don't like to call themselves feminists because they believe if you're a feminist, you are almost like kill all men, men suck, and women are.
Oh, the connotation attached to the word is
Yeah.
it's bad, right? Okay.
Mm.
Um, do you know the story of how your immigrant grandparents came to the States?
I know good enough. My grandma, she came here for college. I remember she went to Kentucky, I think, and another state to go to school. And she ended up just staying here. My grandpa, I don't remember why he got here. They ended up moving to Hollywood, and that's where they met, and they kind of lived there for a while, and they ended up coming here to San Dimas, and they had, their families and stuff. Um, in their childhood, they were born in China, but because they were there for a small amount of time, they live most of their lives in Thailand. So they don't even consider themselves Chinese. They consider themselves Thai. And they
Okay.
live by all of the Thai like cultural traditions and all that. And that's kind of how it all started.
Have you been to Thailand?
No, I haven't, and I will go one day.
You will go. And you mentioned you know a few words in Thai, correct? So do you hope to become fluent and then go back and visit?
I probably will never become fluent in Thai just because learning a whole language. I can't even do that for my school learning Spanish, but it would be cool just to know like a little conversation starter or something like that.
Yeah,
Um, but either way, I would love to go to Thailand, meet new relatives and stuff. I think it would be really cool.
yeah, that'd be awesome. Kind of going into this whole cultural sector. So I want to bring up the topic of food. Um, so do you or your family eat a lot of Thai food? Do you guys make it at home, or is it just more like American food?
It's pretty like 50-50, I would say. When I'm with my mom, it's a lot of just American food and a lot of pasta and pizza and all that. When I'm with my dad, my grandparents love to cook. So, I mean, just today we were having like noodles, and then for breakfast I had some weird soup. And then they all just have like some meat and veggie type of thing cooking. um, every Christmas. So coming up, we make a big thing of like 400 wontons, and we just like put them all up on the counter, and then we just have people come over and we eat them all. They have like these egg rolls that we always make, or little treat things. I don't know what they're called, but yeah, we eat a lot of Asian food. It's pretty.
Okay. And would you say that like do you think people would find that type of food to be like weird or unsettling, or like have you ever got like a bad like look because of the food you eat with your grandparents at family meetings or reunions?
I've never gotten a bad look at all, just because I don't really bring that out into public.
Oh, okay.
The one time I did though, I was
Oh, let's hear it.
yeah, there was like a food project. So let's say you have like a certain culture, you bring a food from that culture. We brought like a bucket of wontons, and passed them around class, and there were a bunch of kids like, "What is that, Maddie? Asian? What?" And then like half the kids didn't want to try it, and then the other half that did try it ended up loving it, and they wanted
Yeah.
like. So, um, yeah, I've never. That's the only time.
Okay. I like that. I feel like food is kind of like the gateway into understanding another person's culture, right? It's kind of like you share food, you learn about what they eat, what they love, and then maybe you can start to understand that person better, you know?
Yeah.
Um, okay, so what would you like to say about your culture, and are you proud of being who you are?
Um, I am. So that's a question I actually think about a lot, because I don't know if you would consider it proud. Because to be honest, I forget that I'm Asian a lot. So it's weird to be reminded of it almost. So I wouldn't say I feel a sense of pride towards it, but I do feel okay with who I am, and I am never ashamed to say that I'm half Asian. Like, it's never been an issue for me. Um, as far as talking about my culture, um, from what I've seen, I mean, I don't know much about it, but from what I've seen, I think it's really cool, and I do want to learn more about it, and I'm going to make an effort to do that. Just asking my grandparents different questions and stuff.
Mhm.
Going to Thailand eventually, I think it's very interesting. It's different than just living in little San Dimas here in America, where this is literally like all I know.
Yeah. I feel a similar way too. It's kind of like this like dissonance, you know, like since we are born here in America, and I'm also second gen, um, you start to feel less attached to your mother culture, and you start to feel like you're more um, just you, if that makes sense. And instead of like, oh, I am Mexican or I am Chicano, I'm just me, you know, like I'm proud of who I am, but I understand and recognize that there are like a certain amount of like cultural associations that I carry with me, you know. So I think I can relate to you on that aspect. Um, let's see. So, what is something that you would like to see change in our country? How would this affect your daily life, or maybe your family's well-being?
Um, Changes in our country, I obviously, everything's not the greatest right now. I mean, obviously it was better than it was, let's say, 60 years ago. But I hope that one day there will be true equality and not just this kind of fake equality that's happening now. I hope that I'm not getting constant stereotype jokes thrown at me every day. I hope that my dad doesn't have to get any more fights over people calling him things. I hope my mom doesn't get little comments for being a woman. I just hope that one day it finally just ends and people stop caring so much and being so insulting about it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that's what I would like for the future.
How do you propose that we can start changing that?
Um, I feel like people need to be almost like proven wrong. This is coming from certain people that I know that are rude. I
Hmm.
feel like is they genuinely believe that a certain race are a certain like way that is not positive. And I
Hmm.
feel like shown that it's really not like that. I mean, there's some of the nicest people that I know are like of certain races, do certain traditions and stuff. I feel like they believe the stereotypes and they don't really care to like go beyond it. They won't even talk to some of these people, um, which I think maybe if people were just more exposed to different cultures and stuff, maybe it would change or
Yeah,
become normalized.
if you had more classes in school that taught you about the world, then maybe you'd understand them better, you know, and not have bad ideas. Um, So again, I want to like ask you about like a really cool or like unique food dish that your family makes. I feel like that's pretty important to kind of sum up like your experience as who you are. Are there certain dishes that your mom's side make and then that your dad's side make that you prefer, or you can tell me a little bit about those?
Um, let's see, my mom's side, man, I think every day when I go to my mom's house, it's just eating a bunch of pasta
Uh-huh.
or like chicken and veggies. And then when I go to my grandma's house, she's always like baking random cookies or cake or brownies. Hey, Maddie, you want some ice cream?
Uh-huh.
And then when I'm going to my dad's house, it's always some weird, different dish. There was one time I walked out in the kitchen, there was a pot of chicken feet, and it was like literally a pot this big. And I was like, Grandma, what is this? And she's like, Oh, I'm making soup for your grandpa. I was like, Wow.
Yeah.
So definitely, I mean, things I prefer, I like the pasta, I like the noodles and the wontons and the egg rolls. I think it's all good. So, yeah, I like the little variety that I get.
That's awesome. Okay, and our last question. Tell me something inspiring. Make it cultural, make it emotional, make it you.
Inspiring. I really just, it kind of goes back to like the last question before. I just hope that people become more exposed to different cultures, and I hope that people stop being so negative towards different cultures or different genders and stuff. I hope that, because I feel like I'm seeing it so much with different people that I know towards different cultures and genders and all of that. And I just hope that one day things get better. People aren't so rude over something that's so, there's nothing wrong with it. And I just hope that people get more exposed to things. And that's pretty much it.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again, Maddie. I really appreciate you doing this interview with me. And if there's anything else you'd like to say, I'm going to end the recording.
No, there's nothing else to say. Thank you.